consider myself as a human rights advocate because it's what I do that matters. It's not what I say. And I will dream, even if dreams abandon me.
Springtime, 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 springtime. Your grief rises afar. Your grief rises afar. Shadows covering our dreams to glow. Whispering secrets in the darkness we can feel. Like widows that learn to kneel. Springtime, 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 springtime. Your grief rises afar. Your grief rises afar. Springtime, 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 springtime. Your grief rises afar. Your grief rises afar. Shadows covering our dreams to glow. Whispering secrets in the darkness we can feel. Like widows that learn to kneel. In a far distant strand we've lost our faith in yesterday's embrace. When love has given what time's been taken away. Has been taken away. All my secrets, all my stories. Been stuck here, but there's a way out. I don't know how, but I can feel you now. Been so hopeless, it's time to start it all over again. Can hear it calling out. Can hear it calling out. Can hear it calling out. Been stuck here, but there's a way out. I don't know how, but I can feel you.
And when you're paying attention to, your neighbor, it's an action that goes against your human nature, which is basically all about, yourself. So there's many ways to approach that, and some people are shaking the system in a way that, we need to be we need to be like a little bit. But me, I love, for me, always, the way I put it is like, I would love to see all the people in the streets, when it's done, to be involved as volunteers in food banks, in, helping kids to learn to read, in being there for kids that needs to learn something, or people that, elderly people that needs to, because they're alone, they need to have like some support and things like that. So that's how I realized that now I consider myself as a human rights advocate because it's what I do that matters. It's not what I say. And nobody cares. I was very good with slogans and blah blah blah, which is okay. But I mean, if it doesn't become something that it's not part of your ecosystem, for me, you're kind of missing the point because there's so many needs around, that are in your own neighborhood that you can make a real difference, and that you will impact the world in so many different ways. It doesn't mean that you have to, that you need to kind of renounce to be to have a perspective, a globalist perspective. But I think that once you're paying attention to what's going on around you, then it will transform you as well, because then it's not driven by something that becomes very frustrating. That frustration that you feel is normal, but then it's channeled into something that will become tangibly fulfilling for someone else in need and for you. And then you realize that you were as much in need as the other person that you're there to walk with, you know. So just like there's a neighbor here, and I saw him one morning. It was like 6 a.m. He was going around, and he went to the bakery, and he bought like a bunch of like breads. Doesn't talk to anyone, you know. There's no like, he doesn't have like a Facebook page about it.
Facebook group.
You know, he doesn't have like, you know, he's not doing selfies, like doing that.
Sure.
He's not branding himself as the compassionate guy.
Sure.
He's just doing
Just
it.
doing it, yeah.
You know,
Amazing.
and that's what I love, and that's
Amazing.
that's who I want to be. And I told him when I bumped into him, I said, I would like, if you would allow me, I would like to assist you, and just to carry your bag, so we might have much more bread
more and go
if we're
deeper.
together.
That's amazing.
And he was very surprised that I noticed,
Sure.
because he was doing that because there was a need. There wasn't like a campaign organized, you
No.
know, for him to have likes and all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
He saw a need, and he said, "Well, I'm in a position to make a little bit of a difference," and I saw that, and I'm also in a position where I can make a little bit of a difference with him. So it's not me taking his gig, just like, well, you know, I'm coming over. You know, I have a bigger bag. I'll have much more bread.
And follow me, camera.
Yeah,
So
look,
good.
come on. Hey, oh, you were there. Just like, so living your life and paying attention to other people's life, for me, this is the most radical kind of political action you can have.
That's amazing. I
But
really love
that's
it.
personal. It
It's-
doesn't matter that you know, I mean, and again, it's absolutely not judgmental for the people who are hitting the streets every weekend. It's great. We have to do it. But I just hope in my heart, even though if I'm a little cynical and probably a bit judgmental as well, but you know, I would like for them just to go in a place where nobody will notice,
Sure. Yes.
but it will matter.
Yeah, and it will make
But
it.
that's my perspective.
Of course,
about
and
it.
you're right. You're right. It will make everything else also look more it and authentic and genuine in so many ways. But I feel, I mean, when we read your Substack, for those of you guys watching who don't know, Alex has an incredible Substack. I'm inviting you to check it out. It's really amazing because, especially recently, you've been sharing about your neighbors in Virginia, been sharing about your doctor, been sharing about all those people that you're giving
You need to give value
so
to
much
people.
value. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I mean, you can feel that it's just like, it's so, those incredible stories that enlight, you know, everything we've been talking about today. It's all like a big picture of all those little things that you put the emphasis on, and I really like that. And I feel like even the video for Springtime, you know, filmed here, so many angles could have been chosen, but I feel like the one you decided to highlight was so full of everything you just shared and mentioned. It was so much about the beauty of and the greatness, and even though there's so many cultural differences, but this is what you decided to take as a beauty mark in many ways.
But you know, here Danger is a very, when I'm saying unique, it's not only about like a sensation that I have. I mean, I live in an Arabic culture
yeah,
in a city where you have Catholic churches, like Protestant churches, and synagogues and mosques, all like, you know, one block from another.
Yeah.
And people respect that.
Yes.
And people embrace that because differences marks the true value of a community.
yes,
So, and I think as the world is kind of like trying to kind of segregate itself in little groups that shouldn't mix for whatever reason, so here is completely different. You know,
Yeah.
people will, you know, they don't judge people on their gods, their rituals, but you know, just maybe a little bit about their football team. but that's something else. That's another type
For
of
sure,
religion.
absolutely. Oh yes,
But
definitely.
you know, we're part of like a much bigger community, and I don't know. That's what makes it so rich.
Yeah, I feel like you're bringing the conversation to another level, like as I like to say, you know. And this to me is always something that it's quite inspiring. And I feel, I don't know what you think about it, but I feel like art has its kind of role in some ways to give perspective on things that, as you were saying, sometimes people just go through life without looking either right or left, just like, you know. But I feel like sometimes these important pieces of where you're at, what you've been through, or realization, and to expose it in that way is capital.
But you know, I think sometimes art kind of misses the point, especially now. You know, because there's something, you know, when comedians cannot laugh at whatever, you know, they want in a respectful way, because it represents, you know, the community they're part of, or when artists needs to be very careful about how they will express themselves, because, you know, the moral police, the righteous, you know, army will track you down. I think that's a very bad sign about, you know, the health of a community.
It is.
And I think that, you know, we need to be in a place where we can, and all in respect, but I think respect is also transgressive.
Yes.
Because, you know, sometimes you need to admit you don't understand everything. You know, I live here, I don't understand all the codes, but I'm paying attention. And because I'm paying attention, I might make a whole lot of faux pas, but people will understand that it's me learning.
Sure.
It's not me trying to assimilate myself by pretending that I'm like everybody else. I mean,
Amazing.
I'm obviously not, which is great.
It is wonderful.
And people, they don't want me to change. They don't want me to adapt. They don't want me to kind of mimic something and to travesty myself and trying to look the part, you know, be the part. Don't look the part, just be the part.
Yes.
And do your part.
Yes.
And I think that's how I believe art is kind of missing a little bit right now because of circumstances, when you're giving power to you know, to moral police, and people can, you know, just decide that you're, you know, canceled, or, you know, that you're not saying the right things and it needs to be said in a certain way or whatever. You're just removing, you're putting the, like, you're by doing, let's say it comes from good intentions.
Sure.
Let's say.
Let's just say, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's play that game.
So you're, by putting that pressure on everybody to be perfect, to say the right things at the right time, in the perfect, you know, rhythm, then you're creating people that will, by extent, become fake.
Of course.
And everybody will be self-conscious. So they won't speak out of an opinion, a sensation, but out of fear to be ostracized or rejected, canceled, whatever. So, and also what you're depriving a community is learning from mistake, and sometime, and most of the time, mistakes will lead to something else, something new, something that we can, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, I was so off, but at the same time, listen to that. And that's how I see with music, to go back to your question, as an artist, and much more as a person, when I'm just trying to kind of defy the codes and just say, well, you know, sometimes we're in studio, and obviously, you know, you included in the musicians, the Long Shadows, they're amazing musicians, but they know how it works. You know, they know that, well, that note needs to be with, that note goes with that one because that's it. And me, I'm just like, no, I really want to hear that. Yeah, but it doesn't work.
Can't do that.
Yeah, well, when I listen to it, it kind of works. Yeah, but no, it's just like it doesn't. It defies the law of whatever, and I'm just like, wow, that's exactly what I wanted.
That's
to
exactly
hear.
what I wanted there.
That's perfect. So out of a mistake, out of something that's completely like weird sometimes, like noise, like oscillation, feedbacks, just like what is that? You know, just this. It's just like nonsense, but in the context. So then you're creating something new, and mistakes are part of this. Mistakes are part of human experiences,
amazing.
which are leading to discoveries.
Yes.
More you discover, more you experience, and more you want to keep on going.
Yes.
And more, you know, it's going to be transformative in a very natural way. It's becoming very instinctive, and that's the little sad part that I have when I'm just like looking around and everything is so. It's just like, you know, you probably didn't have that, but when I was a kid, you know, we weren't very rich, to put it in a good way.
Say the least.
and my parents, you know, all the others, they had like plastic cutters, and they were doing all sorts of things with Play-Doh and things like that. And my mother like showed me how to do like art with like potatoes and different vegetables when you were like carving something in there. And I felt she was like the most brilliant person in the world for doing that, because the others, they were stuck with someone else's defining their expression. So you have a square, a round, like star, whatever. And me, you know, it wasn't really a star because, you know, it was very difficult to kind of cut.
It was more organic.
You know, just like it was something else.
Yeah.
And it was creating like something completely different. And I brought that, you know, when I went to art school and things like that. And you know, it was like, oh, we need to do like something like this and blah, 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 blah. And for me, I was just like, so how boring. So I was doing like collage of stuff and things like that, and everybody was laughing. But I mean, everybody had the same flower. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
well, nobody needed like someone who's very bad at drawing to try to
Sure.
kind of replicate. Oh, it looks like a falling building. No, it's a rose. So better go my way. You know. So that's how I see it. You know.
Of course, and I love it. It's always the difference between art and technique and all that, but that's why I was wondering about these, you know, your human aspect and art, how that is always blended. Because do you have that in mind when you create these the limitations of what can be said or not, or exposed or not, or it never even crosses your?
Not really. I think
Okay.
there's always, you know, there's always a proper word you can use. That if you don't, because if you're writing for the sake of shocking, I mean, it's funny because, you know, sometimes I'm reading some comments about like different artists, and people are just like, oh my God, it's so shocking, and you're just like, well, you never heard like Frank Zappa, right? You know, you're just like, maybe you need to backtrack a little bit when art was something else. You know, when you were like, when everybody had a different like band T-shirt, and it was okay.
Sure.
You know, it's not like, oh, you know, everybody likes this because it sounds exactly the same. So it was different. So for me, you know, I'm not writing for, you know, the sake of either like creating a reaction. I just need to express myself, and sometimes, you know, will torture myself about finding the proper word. And because I'm respecting myself, and I'm respecting the people that I'm sharing with, you know, the boundaries are not like, oh, I shouldn't say that. The boundaries is there's so many different ways to express that than this way, because I know that it might be harsh, or it might be maybe people might not see it as I do. And when you need to explain after,
Yeah,
it's
of
because
course.
you completely
Yeah,
miss the point.
you missed the point.
So there's so many different ways to express yourself musically and creatively and lyrically. So that's always my desire to be as close to the feelings that I have, and there's always a better word, you know, if you're there digging and challenging yourself a little bit, you know.
And is that the full meaning of Fragile Beauty of New Morning Hopes?
We'll find out. That, my friend, is something you'll find out.
Not today.
Yeah, not today, because even you haven't heard the whole record.
I know, I
Isn't that
haven't.
amazing?
Exactly, it is amazing. And all the questions that I'm asking, I genuinely don't know all the answers, which I like absolutely about, because it's a real process even for us, being part of the band and this whole thing. So it's really alive, really human, and it goes into, as you even shared on Substack, you almost deleted the whole record. So this is, you know, it's to that extent. You know,
Yeah,
it's that
for me,
real.
just like, you know, if it, I don't want to add something. I don't want to share something that doesn't have value.
Of course.
For me.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Absolutely.
I'm not allowing. You know, people can say that it's nothing as much as they want, and it's their. You know, it. When you release something, it ain't yours anymore. But the starting point, it needs to be honest. It needs to matters, and it needs to be real. And if I have that, so then I like, you know, it's worth sharing.
Amazing. And is there anything you're still hoping for?
I guess that's gonna be for another video.
All right. Well, thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What else can we expect from you in the upcoming days?
I know there's
or
a whole lot.
weeks,
I know
or-
that, you know, people send me like a bunch of questions as well.
Okay.
So we'll take the time to answer. So I just wanted to, you know, to process the whole thing myself, and I'm finishing the record this week. So it's very funny. I'm just like talking with Ben. I'm just like, oh yeah, I thought about that song. He said, yeah, but we're already like 5 songs like like off script now. So are we still going? I said, well, I mean, it's still, you know, it's very, you know, evolutive. You know, you're just like you keep on going as much as you need to. Doesn't matter to me.
That's
you
amazing.
know?
That's amazing.
But it matters to a whole lot of different people right now. It's like, okay, Alex, now it's great. We have a record now. Okay.
Let's do it.
So yes, I'll answer people.
All right. Well, see you very soon, I guess. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you for joining me for this very special open conversation about the song Springtime. And in the meantime, I wanted to inform you that my upcoming single, Calling Out, will be released on September 2nd. And I'll have the privilege to share another conversation about that specific track very soon as we keep on diving into my upcoming record. So see you very soon, and until then, follow me on Substack.
Been stuck here, but there's a way out. I don't know why, but I can feel you. All my secrets, all my stories. for someone, waiting for someone, anyone, anyone.